Our first speaker is Vincent Saubestre. Vincent. We'll go by Vincent. I mean, like my French is not what it needs to be. CEO and President, Total Exploration Research and Technology in the U.S. He joined Total in 1990, so it's been around for a long time and have a lot of things to draw on. Held various positions, from field to managerial and executive positions. And transferred to Houston in, I think, December of 2018, so now almost native. He started his career in R&D and moved there through the company in a number of different dimensions. He's a graduate from École Polytechnique and École Nationale Supérieure des Techniques. Well, that's the, I'll stumble over those. And then have a mechanical engineering from the University of California at Santa Barbara. So with that, Vincent, it's all yours, and take it away. I think your slides are loaded and ready.
And I think I might up. Yeah. And how long do I have? 30 minutes? Or?
45 minutes.
45 minutes, okay. Well, this is awesome. Well, welcome, everybody. Thank you, Jan, for this great intro. I want to let everybody in on a little secret. It's usually the speaker that writes his bio. That's why you never hear about Pimple on prom night or how many times it took me to get my driver's license. Anyways, I'm going to give you a bit of a Total presentation, but I'm also going to share some experience. Total is about to celebrate its 100 years of existence in 3 years. And what drives Total is the pioneer spirit. I chose the theme of Olympic Games because I felt when I was putting this presentation together, and I saw the presentations yesterday, there's a lot of fire burning in all of you, a passion. And I wanted to illustrate that with Citius Altius Fortius, which is the motto of the Olympic Games, faster, higher, stronger. So that'll be the thread of my talk today, and that's what I'll be showing. This is not, by the way, there are a couple of cues that will tell you which are corporate slides, to quote my BP colleague, and which aren't. This is not a corporate slide. You would have these people equipped with PPE, long sleeves, hard hat, safety goggles and gloves, and it would lose a bit of the cachet. This is the lighting of the flame for the Olympic Games. There's some due this year. I wonder if they'll happen. I couldn't help but and I do read some of the brochures that are handed out to me, the brochure that Jan put together, and these are all words that I found in his opening statement. Digital transformation, desire to drive innovation, passion, etc. And they resonated very well. So it's in line with our pioneer spirit. And what I'll do 3 things. I will set the stage for Total, R&D, and where we're going to. I will hone in on what's happening in Houston. And then I will illustrate on how high-powered computers, high-performance computers are helpful to our business. This one I owe to Donnie. Donnie said, Vincent, your French colleague. By the way, I'm 100% French, like baguette and Tour Eiffel. And if there are any Hollywood producers out there, because I know this is live, I lost the French accent on the way, but I can do it. Like, if you want me to do the Inspecteur Clouseau sing or the Pascal Sauvage, I can do that too, okay? Look me up if you're looking for a bumbling executive in the oil and gas business for your next thriller. Anyways, the kids think I have a nasty habit. When I sit at the dinner table, my body's there, but my mind seems to be traveling in space and time. I find that's a superpower for me. So this is a supercalculator. I'm going to position yourself in 1972. Imagine a scrawny kid, full head of curly hair. I know that's a bit tough to fathom. And in his closet, bell-bottom pants, that had red, wine, blue stripes, and what works well, you can do the bleu, blanc, rouge as well. So my dad was all excited. He'd been traveling abroad, and he brought back this device. I found it on the internet. It's a bit grainy. Do you know where you bought consumer electronics in the 1970s? Where was the place to go? Radio Shack, 1970s? Sears? No, what city? I heard somebody's got the right answer. New York. So it wasn't Las Vegas. It wasn't Silicon Valley. They were just birthing. It was New York. He brought this machine home. He was really proud. It was one of the first super calculators. And it did four operations. And he'd paid a premium. I think this was worth it was about this big, and it's $350. And he was really proud because he'd paid a premium to get the square root. So this one doesn't have it. And as a kid, I remember doing two things. I remember dividing 9, 8, 5, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many of you have done that one? Okay, what's the answer? I haven't done it recently. Well, you don't forget those things. It's 8. And I remember also using the 7, the 1, the 3, and the 0, writing a number, and when you flipped it, and this is a nod to you, it would spell Shell Oil. Remember that? Okay. Anyways, so the French will call high-performance computers sometimes supercalculators. It's not their fault. It's lost in translation. So this was my cultural moment of the day. Back more seriously. Total started in 2016. So our CEO died in a plane crash, very tragically, in Russia. And the new CEO, Patrick Pouyanné, took the company, the group, on a transformation to become the responsible energy major. I know it's a bit of a mouthful, but if you see what's been happening since 2016, there are things that have changed. I've been, on my very small level, part of this reconstruction. From 2016 to 2018, I was in charge at the corporate level of putting Total's R&D strategy together. We're structured with 4 branches: exploration, production, refining and chemicals, marketing and services, gas, renewable and power, and that was the new branch. And there has been a strategy, and it's very convenient for executives in Total to work because the strategy and the long-term vision has not changed in 3 or 4 years that we've been trying to put this together. We want to bring affordable energy to the majority of population. We want to do it safely. We want to shift our portfolio to low carbon mix. We want to be close to our customers and bring products, and that's a bit strange for a company that sells energy, that will save energy to people. So a trip that's been going on for, in the good sense of the word trip, since 2016. I'll evacuate the altiest part of my speech. I needed to fit it in somewhere. This is the lesser side of Total. Total is present in altitude in all of these. Hutchinson is a 100% owned affiliate that markets composites for aerospace and for vehicles. So this is the Ariane space. I've been to our research center in Montargis where they build all these parts. The connector from the booster to the main core of the rocket is meant to shear at 7.3 seconds, not 7.2 seconds, not 7.5 seconds, 7.3 seconds. I shan't mention the name of the plane that traveled around the world on the basis of solar power. You might take a wild guess, and I won't because I can't. Unfortunately for our group, some illuminated or some inspired executive decided not to pay the money to put our logo on this plane, but that plane was powered by sun power photovoltaic, very high-tech, very high-efficiency panels that you may put on your roof, especially if you live in California. The bottom right picture is the picture of the F-35 Lightning from Lockheed. It runs on computers. Modern planes are basically computers. In 2016, Total bought Saft. They make very high-tech batteries. And this plane, just like your car, has a very strong battery to restart it in case it runs into some turbulence. And since these planes' mission is to run into turbulence, it can restart in midair. And last but not least, I used to say, and then I got my facts checked by somebody, I used to say that we cornered the market on energy on Mars. We don't quite because some of these equipment are nuclear powered. But in 2020, Saft battery will equip a rover that the European Space Agency is launching. So we're up there. These are lesser known parts of Total, but they are also part of our global strategy. So, going to research, and we call it investing for the future. Our CTO in 2016, when we embarked in this reorganization, we wanted to simplify the message about Total Research. So we centered our communication on research around 5 focus areas: safety, environment, operational efficiency. That covers a lot of the activities that we do that will save money, that will enable us to find more plays when we do exploration, etc. Low carbon mix, that is definitely a shift in, and the proportions, the percentages are the research money dedicated to these activities. New products, because downstream we also provide products for customers. So when we tally the budget associated with investing for the future, it's about $1.3 billion. The official, this is almost an official slide. The color of the digital, the digital format is not black. It's dark blue, but I figured in the spirit of the Olympics, I would use the same colors. And there's a quote that I like. I think it's attributed to Steve Jobs, and maybe it applies to you. It's better to be a pirate than to join the Navy. So imagine digital as the hackers and the disruptors of Total. Total research is carried out in 18 plus 1. So the plus 1 is Saclay. We have research centers around the world. The better known ones to the oil and gas industry are Pau in southwest France for E&P, FELD in Belgium for refining and chemicals, and Solèze near Lyon for marketing and services. We are developing, taking advantage of the ecosystem south of Paris, a center that will in part be dedicated to digital automation, robotics, materials in south of Paris. And here in Houston, with the team of 50 or so, we want to take full advantage of what the US and Houston in particular have to offer. So we've got 50 researchers. Quite a few of here are in the room in the cheap seats in the back. I can see you, and they'll be here to answer all your hard questions that'll fire at me. Computer science engineering, high performance computer, AI and machine learning, HSE, carbon capture, utilization and storage, seismic acquisition, imaging, reservoir, deep offshore drilling. So if you look at the upper tier, and I'll go into it, of activities, they are computer intensive. The digital transformation takes part on 2 fronts. One is the R&D programs. So this research activity is distributed in about 25 programs with programs manager. A program in Total runs anywhere from $1 million a year to, and computer science is one of the more funded one, to 40 or 50 million a year, with a public statement by our CEO to dedicate about 10% of our research effort to carbon capture, utilization, and storage. I'll come back to that. Downstream of our research activity, we are starting, and this announcement has been made recently, a digital factory with the intent to hire 100 or 200 people. They will be based in downtown Paris. You want to attract talent. They may not come from universities. They may come from the programming, the hacking, the startup world. So this is called the Digital Factory. And I think we have communicated formally about the impact of designing these applications in a lean and agile manner would have on our business. Impact at the level of $1 billion a year for upstream and $500 million a year for downstream. These are very bold, very strong statements. I'm glad I'm more on the R&D side than on the digital factory side, because you're going to have to deliver. To make it appealing, I think it might be a bit, no, you can sort of read it. We're talking about organization in a guild, chapters, tribe, squad lead, chapter lead, engineering lead, tribe project manager. I don't know if this is to appeal to a younger class of people. It sounds a bit like a mix of Den Scout, Rotary Club, Survivor, and SWAT team. But anyways, if it attracts the right talent to Total, we'll modify the language. More on our side and my side and my team's side are two programs that are geared to developing the digital transformation, supporting the digital transformation. Numerical and computational science, engineering, data science, artificial intelligence. That's a long program title, but today that's what it is. And then we also have one on measurement and analytics, and that one caters more to the Industry 4.0, with activities in part taking part in India, and I can talk a bit about that too. The numerical R&D program is structured in 5 key areas: computational chemistry, physics, algorithms, high performance, advanced AI, image visualization. I will leave a set of slides that you can get on stream. We work with partners. This is part of Total's DNA. I made sure that I added the rice on and up front. It was there already up on the top, so we're looking good. These are the partner we engage with. Roughly 50% of Total's budget is spent in collaboration outside of Total. You can ask me questions on that. Transition to HPC in Houston, so stronger. So when you move from the supercalculator of the 1972, which is way over here on this side, there have been lots of development. And there are 3 tiers of people that do computer development. They're the likes of you that are presenting today. You're in the forefront, you're in the frontier of development of hardware, software. We're not a commodity user. We don't buy things off the shelf to use them for our needs. We co-develop with yourselves. For instance, and my colleague Diego will speak. Diego is in the team now in Houston, but he came from Po, where he was the project manager for Pangea 3. I'll talk a bit about that. So we position our computers in this development ladder, moving on to new development. I have the good fortune of being surrounded by people who know their stuff, the Total E&P research and technology stuff. And when they'll remove their helmets, and they are again sitting at the back of the room, these are some of the key people that have experience in HPC, that have experience from the vendor side, and that are working with you. And they are working at preparing Total for the next generation of computers. We do this, they work out of a cave in the basement of Total Plaza, the cave that hums, that has a whole bunch of systems and very complicated blinking lights. And that's where the future begins in Total. We have 2 computers in that basement, and these computers have done their job. There's about 1 petaflop of peak power in the basement of Total Plaza. And that work that is now completed informed our choice for the Pangea machine that Diego will talk about. That is now the production, it's a Power 9 IBM machine that is installed in Po that now powers our production software, essentially in geosciences. Donnie is going to, and his team will be working on the next generation as we prepare the future for Total. I understand that there are quite a few other woods that you can use for barbecue, and he has the privilege of naming our next computer, so expect a cedar or something like that next. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Do you see what I see when I look at the computer room? I see the entrance to what I used to call in my heyday to a disco. I don't know what it is, why we implement these blue lights and everything, and you'd think that Saturday Night Fever is going to break out anytime soon. So good on you. CITES, faster. You can't help by thinking that we've been doing the same thing for centuries. There's a world out there with physical phenomenon, and we're trying to understand how this world runs. So we idealize it with mathematical equations. How many are there to describe the world? 10 or 12? I can't remember essential mathematical equations dating from Archimedes for the with a sunken body to Copernicus for rotating celestial asteroids. And then we want to simulate, and nothing has changed. My advisor in grad school wouldn't even know where the button on the computer was, but he was amazing. He was working with Navier-Stokes equation, and then he was developing these formulas, first, second, third order, and he would associate a physical meaning to the mathematical term. This art is being a bit lost, but it's being compensated by the raw power of the computers we have for simulation. So here's how we use simulation in high-powered computer in Total. Side note, if you look at the communication, the official communication of Total, climate change and bringing solutions for the future of the planet is for and center of our activity. This is a strategy slide shown to investors, and this is how we address the climate. You have our vision, you have our indicators in the document that's published online, and that is updated every year. It's called Integrating Climate into Our Strategy. And what I have circled in red are the areas where research and HPC contribute. So the first illustration of what is managed out of Total is what we call the MAELSTROM project. So there's it's not about chaos as MAELSTROM titled. There's some acronym linked to that. And this is also an example of where we're going as we look to the future. We're looking at multi-physics, we're looking at multi-scale, and we're looking at massive computation. Multi-physics in the sense of when we look at storage of complicated fluids, various phases, etc., we want to store them safely for the long term in large quantities. And we are working with Lawrence Livermore Lab. We're working with Stanford, and we're working also doing work on ourselves to address this topic. These companies bring complementary skills: flow simulation, multi-scale for Stanford, geomechanics, HPC for Lawrence Livermore, and ourselves with the case studies. So this is one of the key topics. It involves quite a few people, and the format we have chosen is to embed our teams in the organization. So this is a model that I strongly support, and hopefully it will lead to some results. The U.S. has an amazing firepower in terms of know-how and computer, and now the national labs are also looking at developing this area. The U.S., I gave a presentation to Minister of Finance, Deputy Minister of Finance from France, who was inquiring about what's happening in CCUS in the U.S. It's massive. The U.S. is positioning itself to be a prime leader in this field, despite all the rhetoric that you might hear sometimes from Washington, and it has the capability to do that. So recognizing this, we have a colleague that has joined our team in Houston, and that will be developing this activity in the US. This is one of our biggest research, not this particular projects, but the whole program is going to be 50 or 60 million a year, and it involves hundreds of people around the group. One of the side, any cyclists out there? Just me? Okay, I see two. One of the, I see a couple. Thank you. Don't be shy. I know it's early in the morning. One of the fringe benefits of, walking the walk about climate change is this one. We bought a company called Direct Energy that markets electricity to, and has about 5%, 6% market share in Belgium and France. And it so happens that they were sponsoring a cycling team on the Tour de France. So as an avid cyclist, I'm thrilled to be able to follow a Total team on the Tour de France. Maybe it won't happen this year for the first time since the war. Another project, this one is also very interesting. This one also involves embedded teams in the organization. So this project is with Google Cloud out of Palo Alto, and it aims at contributing the expertise a company like Google has in algorithms, programmings, pattern recognitions, artificial intelligence to our business needs. This is a change in Google. It happened 2 or 3, and most of the cloud providers and large companies. This is a change in the sense that they're opening up to our industry and are willing to work with us. We're working on 3 projects together. This is a contract. It's renewable every year. Every year we assess where we've gone and if there's some merit. They're dedicating, there's about 12 of us in the Google lab, and this also was a first for them inside their building. By the way, if you walk there, they have boards where people can express their idea and their opinions. And one of these ideas when going to the Google campus was stop doing business with oil and gas. I don't know if anybody's going to tell the Google folks that their computer run on energy and maybe to help the planet, they should all put them down. But anyways, side note, no judgment. 3 projects. One is fault detection. So how can we make the interpretation of seismic material more faster, again faster, which is the theme of this section, and save precious time from our experts. So by using some of the algorithms that exist in the medical world, but you don't have the same quality of data, we're working on that. Preliminary work is that it does save time. We're also working on recognizing faciuses on seismic lines. And the last project on the right is about getting inference from large amounts of data that date back many years, reports, presentations, etc., to try to find new patterns based on semantics inside these reports. All of these projects has one thing in common. It was deemed that the early effort would be pretty quick and it would be about organizing the data, where in fact it turns out that our expertise as subject matter experts is very important, and cleaning up the data, organizing the data takes a lot longer than we expected. We're a bit over the hump, and from the earlier results we see value in pursuing this effort. So this is still going on. We are also out of Houston working with colleagues, Schlumberger and Chevron, on field modeling. We look at Intersect, and we have our own version of Intersect that we're developing for field applications. So 2 essential ones, massive reservoir simulation and also field network. Again, in the multi-scale, multi-physic. How do you connect what's happening in the reservoir, your data, with how flow is moving up the wellhead and through the pipes, especially for deep sea development. If you master that, you can save millions of dollars, and I'll be happy to exchange on that too. Looking to the future, so all of the previous projects are geared to enter production, are geared to run on Pangea in southern France. Pangea, by the way, is about 90% geoscience. I'm only mentioning E&P projects, but there's a lot of development in the other branches. Pangea, we like to say today, and this might change very rapidly because the computer from our colleagues from ENI is going to come on stream anytime soon. So Pangea today, with about 25 petaflops of peak performance, is the largest private owned computer in the world. Of course, if you compare it to national labs or Chinese government computers, it pales a bit in comparison, but it's ranked number 11th and number 9th from energy efficiency. And Diego will talk a bit about that. When we design our computers, we will be looking at energy efficiency. If you talk to our colleagues in Lawrence, Livermore, or Oak Ridge, one of the limitations, apart from the quantic, very small scale mechanisms for the hardware, may come from the power that is needed to run these things. METIS project. This one I like. This one does not run on supercomputers. It's a bit of a niche, disruptive activity in Total. We're using a company, Wireless Seismic out of Houston, that is developing the wireless transmission. Here's a thought. Seismic in easy access area is, as the word said, easy. Or we have to build roads, or we have to go through forests and knock down trees, and that's not very difficult. Or we have to use helicopters to go places, drop people off, they traipse through the jungle or wherever it is they're traipsing, and they're installing nodes. The research team is trying to come up with a disruptive approach. And the reason I mention this project is because it's got a lot of disruption. It's got what they call a flying whale to transport loads into remote areas. This is a profiled blimp. I know we've tried to use this in the oil sands, and that didn't work very well because you want remote access. It's using drones that talk to each other to position themselves, and these drones drop darts. These darts are biodegradable. The next generation battery will be made with some elements of paper, so they're meant to dissolve in nature after some time. And they serve a purpose. They transmit signals during the seismic campaign. This has been tested on large scale in Papua New Guinea. It's being tested today, and there are a lot of communication on that in the UAE in the desert. And our colleagues that developed this are thinking big. This is not an official project, but they're thinking sometimes we'll be crossing over and identifying what lies beneath the surface on Mars and the Moon. So they're already thinking about a design for a crawler that will go on the Moon. This tool does not exist, and this project is sort of very early stage scouting, is not officially Total. Parting thoughts. One of the words that I captured in your slide, Jan, was hype. It's easy because it sells to have a lot of hype about everything we do, how artificial intelligence will disrupt our lives. This is my personal museum of things that have disrupted my professional life. I had the good fortune of being the last class that didn't use the super calculators that cost $350 that my dad brought back. I still know how to use a slide rule. I can see a few gray hair. I had my 5 minutes of glory. There's a museum in Palo Alto where my dad's super calculator probably is. How many of you have been to the computer museum in Palo Alto? Okay. Do you remember the big slide rule that's in the little corner? Okay. So I had my 5 minutes of fame, like showing how you multiply and divide or square root on the slide rule. I use logarithmic tables for my baccalaureate. I've added a couple of buzzwords that have been queued over the years. You can probably add a few more. Business process engineering, that was big in the 90s. Industry 4.0, that's big today. Corporate social responsibility, that's important, but we're moving on to other things. And everything else in between. Wasn't it great to have PowerPoint? Before you used to do that, all these slides, I had to color by hand, and it would get messy and everything. I did my thesis on the Macintosh, and that was one of the early Macintosh, 1984. Remember when you had the 3.5-inch diskette with the system and the 3.5-inch diskette with the Word? Okay, I'm showing my age. Joining Total. I joined Total when communication was run with telex. And then we had the thermal paper on fax. And showing way beyond my age, my internship used to be about punching cards to run on the IBM mainframe to design cross-country skis. So parting thought is, we know that The supercalculator of 1972 is obsolete and will find its place in the museum. We know that the future is coming. It always has. And I think we're ready for it. I don't think we need to succumb to hype, even though hype sells. Transition with the next talk. This is an in-line closing statement in line with the Olympic theme. This is a cartoon that was drawn. We have illustrators that come to some of our workshops. And I used to pitch the new strategy for R&D. One R&D is something that was sold by consultants. I've since seen that one something means about unifying the company around one shared objective. So we have a one Total, one R&D buzz line. R&D with impact. I come from operations. I'm here to help my team and provide the tools. They're the smart ones. They're the ones that are doing the hard work. I'm here to provide my team with the support they need. But I ask them every time they launch into something, even if it's very early on, think of two things. Think of who your end customer is. Is he ready for the stuff that you're preparing for him, or does he need to be educated? And even if it's TRL1, do think about what it looks like scaling up and where is it going to hurt when you scale up. Because we have limited amounts of resources, and therefore we need to use them well. As a segue to the next, I'm doing a part of your job, Jan. I do believe in partnering. I do believe in working with the best. I do believe that when you bring great minds together, especially that are not part of your ecosystem, they provide better products, and they will help us anticipate the future. We'll have a presentation about the ION next, I think, and it's about collaboration and how, and to your intro, Jan, bringing industry providers of hardware, software, and academia is a great way to go. I'll be happy to answer questions. If I can't answer your questions, I will direct them to my very capable crew. Thank you for your attention.
Let's thank our speaker. And he did leave room for questions, so flag your hand if you have a question. While you're waiting on your question, so how many years until Panga will be in the Computer Museum then, now given?
Let me see, supercalculator 1972, 2020, 50, 2070, but and probably, I don't know if it'll fit. So we'll be looking for alumni to sponsor
probably
that.
5 years from now is my prediction, but that with the rate of changes, so.
Yeah. And that's why we have the team in Houston working on the next generation.
Exactly. It's an ever-chasing thing. Any additional questions here? Oh, there's one in the back here. So, well, the microphone is being run, and here, yeah.
Yeah, a quick one. How you make sure that all the algorithm or new ideas you have in R&D get applied to the new hardware or the new computers, or because the evolution is not on the same pace?
So are you talking about working with providers, yeah, or you work about internally?
Yeah, from internal.
So working with third parties, we work with them, and they actually hold the software. I mean, we have several presentations from I don't remember all the names, but AMD, for instance, they're the ones that are developing their package. We can inform what we need, and this relationship is important, and that's where we stand. We don't buy things off the shelf. We have our own teams internally that develop some software. The Google Gaia project will find its way in a proprietary software called Sysmage with our own developers. They need to be close to the business units. I won't hide that we run into difficulties in porting things over if the resources aren't there to do it, if the business users are not engaged early. I think there was a great presentation by ExxonMobil. They have a fully dedicated team for that. That's a tough one. So we have the same pain as everybody else.
Question in the back there.
So a lot of the super majors talk about 80-90% seismic imaging on our clusters. How do you see that workload changing over time with the focus on climate change?
So I've only shown the iceberg, and I guess I've only showed what's beneath the surface today. Applications for E&P and geoscience is the big one. I don't have the slide here, but we are working across the company to use simulation, to use supercomputing for other applications. Molecular design of new molecules for chemicals, for refining branch, and for additives. All of this, I see that evolving, and it's also part of education. Supercomputing is in the DNA of the upstream branches with this transverse activity. So we have a transverse program. It's a program that is managed at corporate level and that is funded by all the branches of the group. And numerical is typical, so all the branches contribute to that. And that's where the in is to generalize this activity. I don't have a number to offer you in an evolution, but it's happening, and the first step, recognition that it needs to happen, is there within our company.
There's one question back here.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for your talk. My question relates to the impact of the fourth industrial revolution on the changing skill set that you're seeing and the types of people you hire. So if you could comment a little bit on, one, the shift in skills that you've seen over the past, 20, 30 years or so, and then any upskilling programs that you guys offer for current employees to help them meet initiatives like climate change, for example. How are you training your employees to understand how to identify challenges and then relate them to their jobs?
Whoa. We have classical employees that have been brought forth, computer science, electrical engineers, etc. So that's still happening. We're still developing them. We have programs where and this is also through the French government, people that graduate from universities can spend a year within a company paid by the French government to develop some of these skills. So we're trying to use these people to bring in AI. So people that develop Python, people that develop these. We hire very capable brains sitting in the back of the room. So a lot of it will probably come from hiring students that are being trained not by us, by others. The digital factory is a key example of that. We plan to hire 100 to 200 people that already have this experience. What I have seen, because I give talks to some of my schools, there's a resurgence of people interested in applied math. When I trained as an ocean engineer, nobody was going in applied math except a couple of people that should have been mathematicians from the start and straight in engineering school. So it's happening in the schools. It's likely, I can speak for France, it's likely going to be reinforced by this ecosystem that's happening south of Paris, with all of the major French companies having research programs there. Fertilization across group, we just signed an agreement with Thales, the big armament company in France. They're fantastic on cybersecurity, obviously, and EDF, or NG, the French electrical systems, to develop some of these things. So it's happening little by little. It's happening too slow probably in Total, but I think most of the training is happening outside. Or we hire people that know what they're talking about, that have been holding back on AI and expressing their talent, and now's the opportunity. As good as I'll get.
I think we're going to stop it here, but Vincent will be around.
I'll be around, yeah.
Okay, so we can have more conversation. Let's thank our speaker again. Thank you.